The tragic life of Phil Niekro ended on December 26, 2020, when baseball's greatest knuckleball pitcher passed away at age 81 after a long battle with prostate cancer. But perhaps the saddest part wasn't his death. It was that in his final weeks, chemotherapy had robbed him of the use of his hands, the very instruments that had baffled major league hitters for 24 seasons. The man who could make a baseball dance through the air like magic couldn't even grip a pen to sign autographs for his loyal fans. Philip Henry Niekro was born on April 1, 1939, in the small working-class town of Blaine, Ohio. His father, Philip Niekro Sr., was a coal miner who pitched in the Mine Workers League. It was this hard-working man who taught both Phil and his younger brother Joe the pitch that would define their lives, the knuckleball. The knuckleball is thrown with minimal spin, making it flutter, dip, and dart unpredictably through the air. It's a pitch that seems to have a mind of its own. While other fathers taught their sons conventional baseball wisdom, Phil Sr. passed down this mysterious art that would eventually make his sons legends. Phil excelled in high school sports at Bridgeport High School in Ohio. He played both baseball and basketball, even becoming friends with future NBA Hall of Famer John Havlicek. On the baseball diamond, Phil posted an impressive 17-1 record as a pitcher. His only loss came against a team featuring future Pittsburgh Pirates star Bill Mazeroski. After graduation, Phil turned down a college baseball scholarship to sign with the Milwaukee Braves in 1959. At 20 years old, he was ready to chase his professional dreams, but the road ahead would be much longer and harder than anyone expected. Phil entered the minor leagues as what scouts called a modest prospect. There was skepticism about his reliance on the knuckleball. Most coaches and players didn't understand the pitch. They saw it as a gimmick, not a serious weapon. Phil's journey through the minors was slow and marked by inconsistency, but Phil made a crucial decision that would define his entire career. He committed to throwing the knuckleball exclusively. A minor league manager even told him to throw the knuckler or go home. This wasn't just choosing a pitch. It was betting his entire future on something most people thought was impossible to master. Between 1959 and 1966, Phil played for 7 different teams in the Braves organization. His development was further delayed when he missed the entire 1963 season for military service with the U.S. Army at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Even then, he kept pitching for the Fort Knox Army team and in Venezuelan Winter League Baseball. Phil made his MLB debut on April 15, 1964, at age 25 as a relief pitcher for the Milwaukee Braves. When the team moved to Atlanta in 1966, Phil moved with them, but it wasn't until 1967 at age 28 that he finally became a full-time starting pitcher. This made him what baseball calls a late bloomer. That 1967 season changed everything. Phil led the entire major leagues with a 1.87 ERA. Suddenly, the knuckleball didn't look like a gimmick anymore. It looked like genius. Batters were completely baffled by this pitch that seemed to giggle as it floated past them. Yankees outfielder Bobby Mercer famously said trying to hit Phil was like trying to eat Jell-O with chopsticks. Phil became the Atlanta Braves' star pitcher and remained so for 17 seasons. In 1969, he posted a 23-13 record with a 2.56 ERA, finished second in Cy Young Award voting, and helped lead the Braves to their first NL West Division title. On August 5, 1973, he threw a no-hitter against the San Diego Padres. The 1970s saw Phil at his absolute peak. In 1974, he led the National League in wins with 20, complete games with 18, and innings pitched with 302. The 1979 season was particularly unique. Phil led the National League in both wins and losses, finishing 21-20. His brother Joe also won 21 games that same year. Phil remains the last MLB pitcher to achieve both 20 wins and 20 losses in the same season. Phil's longevity was the most remarkable aspect of his career. The knuckleball put far less stress on his arm than conventional pitches, allowing him to pitch until age 48. He holds the major league record with 121 career victories after age 40. When most pitchers were long retired, Phil was still dominating hitters. At age 43 in 1982, he went 17-4 for the Braves and made his 4th All-Star appearance. But perhaps his most emotional moment came on October 6, 1985, when he achieved his 300th career win while pitching for the New York Yankees. At age 46, he became the oldest pitcher in MLB history to throw a shutout. His father was ill in the hospital, so Phil chose not to throw his signature knuckleball for most of the game. Only for the final strikeout did he unleash the pitch his father had taught him, a beautiful tribute to the man who made it all possible. Catching Phil's knuckleball was its own special challenge. Bob Uecker, who served as Phil's personal catcher in 1960, 1967, joked that the way to catch a knuckleball is to wait until it stops rolling and pick it up. Teams often had to use specialized catchers just to handle Phil's pitches. Phil's commitment to his craft was absolute. He often said, "I never knew how to throw a fastball, never learned how to throw a curveball, a slider, split finger, whatever they're throwing nowadays. I was a one-pitch pitcher." This singular focus allowed him to master something that seemed impossible to control. Throughout his career, Phil accumulated remarkable statistics. He finished with 318 wins against 274 losses, a 3.35 ERA, 3,342 strikeouts, and an astounding 5,004 innings pitched. His innings total ranks as the most by any pitcher in the post-1920 live ball era. He started 716 games, ranking 5th all-time. Phil was a 5-time All-Star and won 5 Gold Glove Awards for his fielding excellence. His humanitarian efforts earned him the prestigious Roberto Clemente Award in 1980 and the Lou Gehrig Award in 1979. He was consistently described as a genuinely good guy and a real sportsman who treated fans like long-lost friends. Despite his individual excellence, Phil never played in a World Series. The Braves were only an average team during most of his tenure, but this only made his achievements more impressive. He maintained Hall of Fame-level performance even when surrounded by less competitive rosters. After retiring in 1987, Phil stayed deeply involved in baseball. From 1994 to 1997, he managed the Colorado Silver Bullets, an all-women's professional baseball team. He described their final game of their first winning season as being as exciting as a World Series game. Phil also became a mentor to future knuckleballers like Tim Wakefield, R.A. Dickey, and Steve Sparks. The Atlanta Braves retired his number 35 in 1984 and inducted him into their Hall of Fame in 1999. They continue to honor his memory with the annual Phil Niekro Award for their top minor league pitcher. Combined with his brother Joe's 221 wins, the Niekro brothers hold the MLB record for most wins by brothers with 539 total victories. In 1997, Phil was elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame on his 5th ballot, receiving 80.3% of the vote. He was the only player elected that year. Phil later served on the Hall of Fame's board of directors, where his wisdom and compassion proved invaluable. Phil's final years were marked by the same grace and dignity he showed throughout his career. He continued working with young pitchers and remained active in charitable causes throughout the Atlanta area, but cancer eventually took its toll. In his last weeks, the effects of chemotherapy prevented him from using his hands properly, a cruel irony for a man whose hands had created magic on the mound for nearly a quarter-century. When Phil passed away peacefully in his sleep on December 26, 2020, tributes poured in from across the baseball world. MLB Commissioner Robert Manfred called him one of the most distinctive and memorable pitchers of his generation, but emphasized that even more than his signature pitch and trademark durability, Phil will be remembered as one of our game's most genial people. The Atlanta Braves expressed their heartbreak, stating that Knucksy was woven into the Braves' fabric and calling him a constant presence who would be forever remembered. Phil's legacy extends far beyond his 318 wins or his mastery of an impossible pitch. He proved that unconventional approaches could lead to extraordinary success. He showed that perseverance and character matter as much as talent. In a sport often focused on power and velocity, Phil Niekro found success through patience and unpredictability. His knuckleball may have been uncontrollable, but his impact on baseball and the people who knew him was profound and lasting. Though his hands could no longer sign autographs in his final days, the legacy written by those same hands will endure forever in Cooperstown and in the hearts of baseball fans everywhere.